Hello everyone, how are you doing? Happy Tuesday, right? It's a Tuesday. Decided to come out here, do this live outside. We've all been cooped up inside, so if you're watching this, why don't you go watch this outside? You know what I'm saying? So do a few minutes to get some people on there. As you're hopping on, please say hello. Whether you're watching this live, you're watching the replay, please feel free to ask questions, all the things. Yes, I'm really excited. I hate when it does this. It says low network connection. Sorry that it cut out and back in. It's a low network connection, probably because everyone is playing on the internet right now because everyone is at home. Hello, Dean. Hello, Kelly. Tell me, how are you doing as you're hopping on? All the things, friends. I'm super excited about this because I feel like this is something that everyone kind of struggles with, especially if you're in the band world. I know in the band world we struggle with this a lot, but so my goals with this live stream are to, number one, give you the 4 key components that I feel are really important to work on in order to really kind of kick self-doubt to the curb, because self-doubt and imposter syndrome, those are things that come up a lot. They come up a lot for us, and I want to talk about that, give you the 4 key components, and then also I want to give you some information about my new course that is coming up, which deals with self-doubt specifically. But first, we're going to start with those 4 key components. What does, there's sound coming from my computer. I have my notes here so I don't forget things, because sometimes I go on tangents and then my brain gets lost. So anyways, what does self-doubt and imposter syndrome look like? So it can look like different things such as procrastination. Procrastination is a form of self-doubt and imposter syndrome. Procrastination, it can look like self-sabotage. What else do I have here? Not taking action. It can be emotional eating and shopping. Emotional shopping, that's a thing, especially in the ladies' world. Second guessing yourself. That's another one, right? We're oh, well, maybe should I do this? Well, I'm not sure. That kind of bullshit right there. Not doing big things because you're afraid of them. So if you're looking at oh, well, I want to apply for this job, but they probably wouldn't hire me anyways. That kind of stuff, right? The self-doubt sneaking in, comparing yourself to others. That's a lot of self-doubt and imposter syndrome, is comparing where we are to where someone else is. This is a good one. Oh, this one for imposter syndrome especially. Imposter syndrome shows up as one of those things of no matter how many awards you won. Sorry if it gets loud out here because I wanted to come outside, quarantine, all those things, whatever. Well, we're not on quarantine here in the Frisco area, but I'm not about to go be around people because I don't know which one of y'all has terms. Anyways, but imposter syndrome can show up a lot too, and this happens also to really successful, even if you're really successful or not, that no matter what you've won and no matter what people say to you, you're worried that they're going to find out you're a fraud. I remember one of the jobs that I got, when I got that job, I was oh my God, I told my husband, I was oh my God, they hired me. They offered the job to me. What if I can't hold up my end of it? What if I'm not good enough to do this job, right? The imposter syndrome starts to creep in, that even though somebody's hey, yeah, you're a good fit for this job, you're oh shit, wait, what? Oh, right? That no matter what awards you've achieved or anything, that you doubt your ability to do something, or you doubt that you are good enough for the awards that you've received, right? So those are some different forms of self-doubt and imposter syndrome that shows up for it. That's what it can look like a lot of times. Why does self-doubt and imposter syndrome come up, okay? For example, maybe you have tried something before and you failed at it. Maybe you have proof. Maybe your brain has proof that we've done this before and we were terrible at it, okay? Or you heard from someone or somewhere gentlemen, feel free to drop something below. But for me as a lady, as a woman, there were times in drum corps where they were oh yeah, they don't like to have girls on their horn lines. In the percussion world, it's very prominent where they're oh yeah, they don't like to have girls on the snare line, on the drum line, right? So feel free, guys, to drop things below. So you heard it from somewhere that it's not possible, or that it's really difficult to do something because it was difficult for them. Have you ever had that where somebody tells you something's really difficult, you try it and you're oh, this wasn't that hard? Well, maybe it is really difficult for them, but it might not be for you. But because you heard it's really difficult for them, you're oh, you doubt yourself and your ability to do it. You're afraid of failure or disappointment, right? Where are my people pleasers and perfectionists at? People pleasers and perfectionists. I'm a recovering people pleaser and perfectionist, y'all, where perfectionism, by the way, is a form of self-doubt. If you're like, I'm a perfectionist, no, you just doubt yourself a lot because you want it to be perfect. You don't want to put something out there that isn't perfect. Y'all, sometimes you just got to wing it and put it out there. But perfectionism and people pleasers like that, for example, when you're a kid and you're basically taught like when you do things to make people happy, right? So then when you're an adult, you, for example, don't do your big dreams or you doubt yourself because you don't want to make other people uncomfortable, or this will make people mad, or people will be upset with you, so you continue to play small, right? Okay. So the 4 key things that I'm going to talk to you guys about are identity, dream life, then like inner child / emotional intelligence, and boundaries. Those are the 4 that like, they're the big topic ones that if we're not really looking at these and talking about these things and really dealing with them, then self-doubt and imposter syndrome is always going to cause us to fail at things. Hi, Jonathan. Hi, Jacqueline. Hi, Stephen. Hi, Neil. Hi, Amy and Betty. Oh my goodness, we have lots of people on here. Hello. How are you doing, Jonathan? So those are the 4 things that I'm going to talk to you guys about today. I don't have like... For example, in my course, I will be going like way in depth in each one of these, like for at least 45 to 60 minutes on each topic of these. Today, I'm not going to be going as much in depth with them, but I am going to give you like the rough outline, like what I'm talking about and how you can kind of look at these things. So the first one up is identity. So who we are right now has been formed by all of the actions and decisions and everything that's happened leading up to this very moment, this very second right here. But what we forget is moving forward, we have the choice moving forward to choose to be someone or something different if we want to. But we get so stuck in the routine and the habit of everyday things that we forget that. And we don't make this conscious effort to show up as the person that we actually desire and want to be. You know, like that idea of, well, I came from a small town or a small place, so I can't be anything big. Yeah, right. Okay? Or because I failed at this before, I can't actually do it later. No, bitch. If you failed at something before, you can go get the knowledge, learn, grow, and then later nail the crap out of it, right? So we have to actually sit down and say, who do we actually want to be? Not who have I been before based off of my abilities right now. No, like actually sitting down and deciding like, who do we want to be moving forward? If you failed at that before, who cares? Is that something that is really important to you and that you're really passionate about, that you want to be good at? Like for me, I see myself speaking on stages. I see myself leading retreats. I see myself being a keynote speaker at different events and conferences. That's something that I see for myself. Now, is that something that when I was a teacher that I would have thought, I would have been like, well, like I don't have the experience. No. My identity is defined like, how do I want to look? What type of food do I want to eat? Like, who do I want to be in detail? Because I get to choose that moving forward. Because when we're not intentional about what is our identity, what do we want to look like, who do we want to be, what are the things we want to be doing, when we're not intentional about that, then how can we actually make the decisions moving forward that takes us in that direction if we've never actually sat down and decided who do we want to be? But on the flip side of that, what gets people caught up is they're like, for example, my parents paid for me to get a music education degree. Well, I saw myself doing really big picture things that really weren't necessarily in the classroom. But if I would have said, well, my parents paid for me to get a music education degree, so I should keep teaching because that's what they pay for me to do. There's a lot of shoulds that come into this, a lot of society things, a lot of conditioning that we should be doing this or we should be whatever, X, Y, Z. But in the grand scheme of things, here's the funny thing. So I left teaching. And now basically I'm still using my music education degree because I still work with marching bands. I still come in and clinic things. I still do leadership clinics. And I'm still technically teaching people how to do things. My parents aren't mad. My parents are like cheering me on and like boosting me up. And they're like, I am so proud of you. You're so amazing and you're so incredible. But yet in my head, I was like, my parents are going to be so mad about this. No. So we have to stop thinking in I should be doing this. This is what people expect of me. So the hell what? What we're going to sit down and do in the course is really like take apart and take off all of those layers and sit down and say, who do I want to be? What are the things that I want to be doing on a daily basis? Like, how do I want to act? How do I want to speak? How do I want to dress? Like all the things, like for example, when I picture myself like put together, like my hair curled and things like that, giving speeches on stages. Okay, like I would joke with my students, and the funny thing is I would tell them, I'd be like, hey, I would talk about something important to them. I'd be like, thanks for coming to my TED Talk, guys. And then finally I told them one day, I was like, y'all, for real though, one of my goals is I want to give a TED Talk. And I said that, and I was actually really kind of nervous to say it out loud to my students. And I was like, I want to give a TED Talk. And they were like, oh, you would be so great at that. Oh my God, you should totally do that. Now, that doesn't mean go tell people your dreams, because some people will shit on you about that. They'll be like, oh, you think you can do that? Oh, okay, whatever. So really sit down and say, who do I want to be? Like, how do I want to dress? How do I want to carry myself? Like, how do I want to make decisions? How do I want to handle it? Like when self-doubt comes up, the things that self-doubt comes up for you about. How does my next level self actually want to handle this? Okay? And writing all of that out. Oh, it bleeped out for a second. Sorry, it bleeped out for a second. It said low connection because, everyone's at home using the internet. So, like, if you are normally a people pleaser, then would your next level self, be a people pleaser? If you're normally a perfectionist and you're afraid of putting things out there because it's not perfect, would your next level self do that? Okay? So that's one of the big things that's going to make the decision for you of how extraordinary you and your life are, is who you are choosing to be on a daily basis. And if you're not sitting down and being intentional about this is who I want to be, then how are you ever in hell going to make the decisions that take you on that path and on that journey? Okay? And that's this is literally I'm giving you kind of the outline of it, but this is something that we are going to sit there and go way in depth with for an entire module, because it is that important. Everything that you've done up to now does not get to define who you are moving forward. So I challenge you to sit down, especially since a lot of us have a lot of damn free time now and we're all cooped up inside. What if you sat down and you wrote out what that would look like for you? In 5 years, what would your next level self look like? What kind of decisions would they be making? What would their day-to-day, who would you be? How would you show up? What food would you be eating? Would you be exercising? Would you be doing yoga or cardio or strength training? Would you be wearing a certain clothing? Would you be, and some of the stuff you're like, that sounds really shallow and superficial. Yes, it may sound shallow and superficial, but that's also something that people have told you. I shouldn't be worried about what I'm wearing because that's really shallow and superficial. No, that's the bullshit people have been telling you. Okay? Something for me was, the last time that I did this is I was like, my next level self is not waking up at 4 a.m. and going to sleep at 11 p.m. My next level self is getting 8 hours of sleep and feeling wonderful when I wake up. And then that means that the decisions that I made were based off that idea of it doesn't feel good to me to wake up at 4 a.m. Another thing that I wrote down is my next level self gets to choose, my next level self is put together and takes care of herself. Well, that then is going to choose what foods I'm putting into my body. Because I want to make sure I'm taking care of my body. It's going to make, when I say one day I wake up and I'm like, you know what? I really don't feel like working out today. Well, what are you going to do? If you don't work out today, what are you going to do when you don't feel like it and you have to give a speech to thousands of people? Are you going to show up and do the damn thing anyways? Yeah. Then today for our workout, we're going to show up and do the damn thing anyways. Okay? So sit down and decide, who are you? What are the decisions you're making on a daily basis? What do you stand for? What do you not stand for? What do you put up with? What do you not put up with? Who are you on a daily basis so that your decisions can be made based off of that version of yourself? Okay? Tell me questions, all right? Hi, Andrea. Hi, Austin. Hi, Shaquilla. Hi, Mom. Hi, Melissa. Ask me questions. Say hello to me. Feel free to have conversation. If you guys are all stuck in the house too, feel free to communicate and pretend like we're sitting here talking face to face. That way we can get some community and interaction going. Feel free to. Okay? The second thing, which goes along with the identity piece, is your dream life. What do you want? And and I've said this before. I've done a live on this before where I'm like, what do you want from your dream life? And people were like, yeah, but I want this, but yeah, I don't have the money for that. No. Sit down and write out your dream life as if there were no limits and no boundaries. Because oftentimes what's more limiting is the limits that we give ourselves. The things that we think we can and can't do are more limiting than what we actually dream about. So sit down and write out, what is your dream life in regards to your finances, in regards to you, in regards to your relationships, your marriage, your family, your job. What does it look like, your dream life? No limits, and don't guilt and shame yourself, because here's something else that starts to happen is, depending on your upbringing, you should be okay with what you have. You shouldn't be wanting more than what you have. You shouldn't be wanting a low network connection. Sorry, I paused again, friends. You should be okay with what you have. It's greedy to want more things. But if you have more things, you're taking away from someone else. Things like that. But it's simply not true. It's not selfish to want more from your life. Because if you think about it, with the people that are doing big things, the CEOs, the Olympic athletes, the Oprahs of the world, they didn't just sit there and accept everything as it is. They said, these are my dreams, these are my goals, these are the big things that I want to do. And they went for them. You know, people are like, yeah, but for example, rich people are greedy. So I don't want a bunch of money because I would be a greedy person. No, whatever kind of person you are when you're poor is what you would be when you're rich. So without any judgment, guilt, shame, none of that, write out what your dream life is, because you wanting big things is not going to take away from someone else, because the universe is limitless and boundless. There are so many different options, but also, how are you going to make decisions if you don't actually know what you want? Because there's way too many people that are on this hamster wheel just spinning their wheels and helping everyone else get to their dreams, but you're not actually doing anything towards your dreams. Or we get so, because we don't have this idea of what we'd want in our dream life, we spend every single day being monotonous and just coasting along and living with everything, right? So those first two components of that is, who the hell do you want to be every single day? And then what kind of life do you want to be? Now, what starts to come up for people is the self-worth piece, right? So that's why this dream life piece is a totally separate piece on its own. It like an entire module, is because we start to think about these things and we have all the kinds of conditioning and bullshit and everything from our life that starts to come up, which you, like when you look in the mirror, when you're writing this out, you are worthy already of everything you could ever want and desire in this life. There's nothing that you would have to do for it. You are already worthy of it. Like, for example, if you think about it with Oprah, Oprah has a lot of money. Do you know what she does with her money? She gives away all kinds of free shit on her TV show. She has created her own network and her own TV channel that she can be producing content that she feels is helpful to people and everything like that. Like, as the more that you create your dream life and the bigger, the more powerfully you step into this. For example, the more money that you have, the more people that you can help, the more freedom that you have to help more people. Like for me, I have time freedom right now, which allows me to help more people. This past marching season, I was at 4 different schools, which means I had the ability to help. Normally, I had the ability to help 250 students. Because I stepped away in this entrepreneur life, I was able, first off, to step into 4 programs and help, 15 different band directors, instead of just myself and the 3 I'm around, 15 different band directors to grow in the marching band aspect. Because I created my online course that seemed really odd and crazy, my dream life, I wanted to share my idea of marching fundamentals with more people. So that's another 12 people that I've shared my ideas with, that it changed their life. But then on the student side of things, I've done student leadership clinics. I helped at 4 different schools. So you're talking about probably over 1,000 students that I had the opportunity to help this year, because I chose to step away from teaching and create this weird, odd, crazy entrepreneur life that I'm creating. But I had to first sit down and say, what do I want? And not enough people sit down and say, what do they want? It's like that scene in The Notebook where they're like, what do you want? Where he's like, Noah's like in Alley 6 and he's like, what do you want? She's like, I don't know what I want. That bitch should have sat down and written out what she wanted in her life, y'all. Maybe that movie would have been way easier to watch if she'd have sat down and been like, I want a house like this. I want a man like this. And she could have been like, you know what, Noah, you fit that man I want. Or no, you don't fit that man I want, right? Notebook maybe would have been less like awkward or uncomfortable to watch maybe. So and that's the other thing too, is people struggle with making decisions. But oftentimes they struggle with making decisions because they don't even know what they want in their damn life. But when you know what you want and you know who you want to be and you're striving to be that person, decisions become drastically easier. It becomes much easier to know when something is a hell yes and when it's a hell no, I'm not going to do that. I have had a situation where I turned a client down. A couple months ago, a client called in. They told me, they said, these are all the things that I want you to do. And I thought to myself, wow, if I'm sitting here looking at my dream life, this is not actually on the path of my dream life. And I was like, hey, that's not really a good fit for me. So I'd be glad to give you some names of some other people, but honestly, that's not a good fit for me. And I felt confident in that decision because I knew where I was going. Okay? So that's why this dream life, like these first 2 components of who do you want to be and your dream life, knowing those 2 things drastically make decisions so much easier. Because we do that, by the way, especially teachers, we do that for our ensembles and for our students. But when's the last time you sat down and did that for your life? It's easy to pick music for your students because you know where you want them to go. A student says, what solo should I play? It's easy for you to pick it out for them because you know what you think they should grow in. Okay? Now, but here's the thing though, is you're going to sit down and you're going to write out all these things of who you want to be and what you want your life to look like. And you're like, hey, bitch, I still have the self-doubt and imposter syndrome. Because all of that stuff is still going to come up, right? I'm going to see really quick what Shakula said. She said, I've learned to create healthy habits daily instead of setting goals to accomplish. Yes, that's beautiful because those healthy habits are going to get you to who you want to be. Because once you accomplish a goal, satisfaction is short-lived. Healthy habits daily create happiness every day. Yes, I love that. That's so beautiful. So she's talking about like when you know who you want to be and where you want to go, then your day is built around that. All of the activities and decisions you're making are built around that. You can set one single goal for yourself, or you can be like, this is who I want to be, right? I love that so much. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's beautiful. I love it. Okay. So deciding who you want to be and where you want your life to go, like, okay, now I can make decisions and stuff, but then that's where like we start living big and dreaming big and all of the self-doubt and imposter syndrome stuff comes up and it starts to tighten the chest up, it starts to choke us out, it causes us to procrastinate, and it's like, okay, well, this is who I want to be, but then we don't take action towards it, right? That's why another module is built around the idea of like your inner child and your emotional intelligence, okay? Because sometimes, and like there's two different pieces to this. Sometimes it's going to be based off of the inner child and what the inner child feels like they're afraid of or what they're missing or what they need. And that's going to sound really weird and crazy, but y'all, your inner child is there whether you shove them down and hide them and choke them out or not. Your inner child is still there. So sometimes when that self-doubt and that fear comes up, okay, sorry, the low connection thing. Ooh, we are going back and forth and in and out of this low connection, y'all. I am sorry. This low connection thing is getting in on us. Sorry. Sometimes it's about asking your inner child, like, hey, you know, what are you afraid that's going to happen if we do this? You know, it's going inside and looking at ourselves and asking our inner child, what are you afraid of? Well, I'm afraid that if I do this, that people are going to be mad at us. Oh, and now we can work from that because now we can identify where the self-doubt is coming from. Because if we don't know what is triggering the self-doubt and the imposter syndrome feelings, then we can't actually do anything about it. And that's why people are like, my self-doubt keeps coming up and it keeps coming up and there's nothing I can do about it and I'm always afraid and I always feel this way. Well, then you either need to, number one, find out what is it your inner child feels like is missing or they're afraid of. Or number two, maybe you just need to actually work on your emotional intelligence and build up the strength and resilience that even when you're afraid, you're going to do the damn thing anyways. Right? Ooh, it's misting on us now. Hello. Okay, it's misting on us a little bit now. Anyways. So that's an entire module that we're talking about is really digging in and getting comfortable, because that's something too, is a lot of people are not comfortable with interacting with their inner child. Y'all, I can't tell you, like there was me creating pricing when people are like, now I'm an entrepreneur and people are like, okay, well, how much is it? And my instinct as a teacher is like, oh, it's free. Because you know, teachers, we give way too much shit away for free. But anyways, I'm like, pricing? What? Well, I had to go in and actually talk to my inner child, and it wasn't my inner child. It was actually my inner 20-year-old, right? So sometimes it might be a 3 to 5-year-old version of yourself. Sometimes it's a teenage version of yourself. Sometimes it is the 20-year-old version of yourself, whatever it is. We have to go inside and actually look at, okay, what are you afraid of? What do you think is going to happen? What are you afraid is going to happen? What are you doubting in us? You know, maybe it's that inner child that's like, when we tried to do this before, we failed at it. Okay, because then you get to have this this conversation with yourself that's really beautiful about I understand you have proof from when we were a kid, but look how much we've grown. Look at everything we've learned. And you're like, that sounds really woo-woo. Excuse me, it's not woo-woo. A lot of therapists work around this. A lot of therapists deal a lot with the inner child things, and that is what they talk about and confront and look at, okay? And then on the emotional intelligence side of things, that's knowing that no matter what you do, if you fail or not, and knowing too, that whether you fail or not, you're going to be okay. That being resilient enough that whether it works out or not, you're going to keep moving forward because this is who you are. Like for me, part of my next level self is I'm going to go after my dreams and I'm going to put these courses out. Well, what if no one buys it? I'll be okay. What if everyone thinks you're stupid for doing this? I'll be okay anyways. So with the emotional intelligence and inner child side of things, it's what is this self-doubt that's coming up, and observing that story, that lesson that's coming up, and then getting curious about it. Is that actually true? Is it actually true that no one is going to buy a course if I put it out? That everyone is going to think that I'm stupid for the things that I'm saying? Well, no. There's a lot of times where I'll do a live video that I'm like, I hope no one thinks I'm stupid. And then I'll get a private message that someone's like, thank you so much for saying that. I needed that. I did a live video. What did I do a live video on? What was it? Oh, I did a live video on doing things that, I did a live video on when you are successful, sometimes people are going to talk shit about you, but you got to do it anyways. And I got a private message of someone that's like, thank you so much for saying that. I can't tell you how many times my friends have like shit on me and like talked down to me and like told me like all kinds of crap behind, or talked about me behind my back because I continue to live my dreams. Okay? So realize that you have to get curious, like, where are these stories coming from? Getting curious about them. And then one of the things that I'm going to do in the course is I'm going to walk everyone through a visualization of how to release that energy, because it is possible to take that energy and release it outwards, out of your body, and then choose to replace it with something else. That is possible. I'm a firm believer, and I'm actually proof of that you can choose how you interact and react to the world around you. You can't choose what happens. It's not in your control of what happens, but it is in your control of how you react to it. Okay? So, and this process is what I use to be in control of that, being in control of my emotional intelligence and my inner child, and being like, why do I feel triggered around this? Let me figure out why I feel triggered around this, and then I can actually work on that and release it. So I'm going to walk everyone in the program through a visualization. I'm not going to do that on here right now because A, some people don't like visualizations, and B, the video will get way too long. And then after you do the visualization, what did I say? After you do the visualization, you get to rewrite that story. You get to take that self-doubt and that imposter syndrome and that bullshit that you got curious about, you released the energy and you replaced it. You get to rewrite it to something that is more empowering, and you get to reframe it to something that feels better. For example, what if no one buys my course when I put it out there? And then I work through it, and then I decide that I'm going to reframe it up. The people that need this course are the people that are going to buy this course, okay? That this course that I am bringing to life, that I'm speaking to life, is for somebody that needs it. That somebody out there is sitting there on their couch saying, wow, I wish somebody would help me with my self-doubt. Because for me, I'm like, oh, hell yeah, let me do this course anyways. People might make fun of me, but this is for the girl that is sitting on the couch and the dude that is sitting on the couch saying, I wish somebody could help me with my self-doubt. That's who I'm speaking to, right? And then you get to vibe the hell out of it. And literally you just like go for it, and you just create like, I'm going to share several different ways. Like one way, like you can put headphones on, you can put music in, and you can just picture and visualize it. You could journal it out and write the story of what it's going to look like going the way that you expect, that you hope that it goes to. You can even out loud have the conversation, like the way we're talking. You could talk to yourself out loud about it, but you just vibe the hell out of it. Because it's about, number one, finding that inner child and seeing is there something to help it with. And then having the emotional intelligence to choose something else. To choose to be resilient enough that even if you do fail at this, it's okay, and to keep moving forward. Because we as a humanity, if this is not telling us anything with all of this COVID-19 that's coming up, we are resilient. Humanity is resilient. But we don't put that in terms of our emotional reactions. Like so many people are panicking about COVID-19. No, we are resilient. We don't need to panic about this. We don't need to freak out about this. We just need to actually problem solve, and we need to say like, okay, what does this mean for me? Okay? And then last but not least, so we are deciding who we want to be. What does our dream life look like? We are taking the self-doubt and the imposter syndrome as it comes up, deciding is it true or not, getting curious about it, releasing the energy and vibing the hell out on it. And then here's what starts to happen next. We start to set boundaries. Because if you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be like this person that is doing this and X, Y, Z, and then you show up to your classes. Like for example, my band is consistently getting straight ones, and we're playing harder and harder literature, and my students are amazing musicians. But yet you show up to class and you let the students walk all over you, and you're way lenient on their assignments, and we're not holding them accountable and setting boundaries, kind of compassionate boundaries. That's not the same thing. That's not going to lead your ensemble to getting straight ones, to playing harder music, to getting better as musicians. Or for example, I want that promotion at work. I want to apply for this big job and I want this promotion. But yet when you show up at work, you let everyone walk all over you. You do other people's work for them. You don't speak up for yourself. You don't let people, like when somebody, for example, someone takes your idea, you don't speak up for it, things like that, then no, they're not going to give you that promotion. So then we start to learn how to set boundaries and how to positively and compassionately tell other people no. Or also to be able to be like, ooh, yes, that's a hell yes for me. I would like to do that. And to speak up and be like, please, I would like to. When they're like, hey, we need someone to do this, I'll do that because it's in alignment with who I want to be, my dream life. I got rid of the self-doubt and the bullshit, so now I'm going to set some boundaries. For example, one of the things for me was I decided, when I was doing this for myself, when I was still teaching, I decided that I was no longer, like it was not part of who I wanted to be, to feel so frantic and chaotic when I was starting my classes. And I was like, okay, well, what's playing a factor in that? What can I do about that? Like, I'm always organized. And I started to notice that what caused me to feel frantic is either my colleagues, sorry, the low connection thing, friends. Sorry, the low connection thing keeps cutting in and out. Ooh, we have a lot of people that hopped on here. Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Tina. Hi, Whitney. Hi, Macy. How are you guys doing? So, I started to notice what was causing me to feel frantic and disorganized starting class was when my students and colleagues came up to me right before class started, they would ask me to do something and then I would do it for them. So I set this boundary with my students. Number one is I said, hey, if you forgot something or left something or whatever it is, you have 5 minutes, but you either have before school, like before 8:50, or you have right when you walk in this damn door and realize you forgot something. I didn't say damn. To tell me, and I will help you. You are not allowed to come up to me right before I start teaching a class to ask for something from me because it causes me to feel frantic and chaotic starting class. And I told them why I was setting this boundary. Also with my colleagues, when they started coming in, oh, hey, can you take care of this? My brain would interpret it as, yeah, let me do that really quick. They're not always asking that. Sometimes they're just asking me to do something. So they'd be like, hey, can you get this and this done? Yeah, totally. I will definitely do that after symphonic band ends. Okay, great. Thanks. I was making the story up in my head that I had to do it. So what started to happen was either the students were asking me ahead of time to get things done, so I was able to get it done for them, and I wasn't feeling chaotic starting my classes, or number two, here's the crazy thing that started to happen. The students started to figure out how to take care of it themselves. Y'all, I was enabling their crazy ass behavior of forgetting things. And when I stopped enabling it, like they would show up, here's what they would do. They forgot their music. They would show up to the office and they'd be like, Miss Anika, can I make a copy? Because they went and asked the person who shared their part for their music and they copied the music. So all of a sudden, I'm able to start with a good, calm, amazing mindset to my classes. And now my classes are flowing. I have a great energy in my classes. I'm not fussing at kids as much for forgetting things. I'm not enabling their forgetful behavior anymore. And they're now problem solving and figuring out how to solve these issues themselves. And a lot of amazing, crazy things came from me being willing to say, I no longer am willing to be chaotic and disorganized starting my classes, so here's the boundary I'm setting. And I did it in a kind and compassionate way, and everybody was totally fine and cool with it. So that's another thing that we're going to talk about is setting boundaries around this based off of who do we want to be and what is the life that we want to create. Okay? So the summary is we have to first decide who do we want to be. Like the self-doubt, if you're like, wait a minute, I'm here for self-doubt and imposter syndrome. I know, but here's the whole package of it. Here's the whole thing of it. First off, we're going to we have to decide who are we trying to embody for our big dreams. What is our dream life that we want? And then we start to go into the inner child and emotional intelligence piece and releasing that self-doubt and getting curious about it and getting rid of it and rewriting a new story for ourselves. And then following that up with, okay, but this is not something I'm talking about today, but we are going to talk about this. How do you set goals in a way, what does healthy goal setting look like? How are we creating these habits like Shaquilla mentioned earlier, setting boundaries for ourselves and truly embodying that next level version of ourselves? And these are the things that we're going way more in depth in my course. And here's something that I would challenge you to do. If you're watching this video right now, what I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to take a deep breath in, hold it for 3 seconds, and exhale. Keep your eyes closed. Don't be like kids where you're peeking. Breathe in, hold, and exhale. And what I want you to do is I want you to picture your life in 5 years. I want you to picture what that next level version of yourself would look like if you started making decisions immediately from that place. If you were basing your decisions and your actions and who you showed up as based off the next level version of yourself. What your dream life looks like. What it would feel like if you were setting incredible, healthy boundaries for yourself. And that every single thing that you did, how you took care of yourself was based off of your dream life. What would your life look like in 5 years? What would it feel like? What are the things you would be doing on a daily basis? Like, how would that feel to be empowered in the decisions that you're making? Okay? Now open your eyes. Like, think about that. Like, what would it feel like if you could make decisions like that? You knew when you knew yes or no to something. If when something big came up to you and you felt that fear and self-doubt come up, you knew immediately how to process and work through that within like 60 seconds, maybe 5 minutes at the most, because that's how long it takes me now. That self-doubt comes up. Sometimes there's bigger ones that come up and it may take me 5 minutes to go through it. But now the thoughts come up and I'm like, okay. Like, imagine what that would feel like to be able to work through that self-doubt as it came up. Because here's the thing. Self-doubt and imposter syndrome, that kind of shit doesn't go away permanently. Every time you go to a next level version of yourself, those fears are going to come up because now you're at a new level. Your nervous system is like, we're at a new level. What are we doing? So it's all about like, I'm giving you tools in this course. And I even gave you some ideas in this on how to work through that when it does come up for you, because that's what it's about. It's releasing it, getting rid of that bullshit and moving forward anyways. Okay. And then also like, okay, what's going to happen when you write out your dream life? Because here's the funny thing. What I wrote out in May of 2018 for my dream life, I have 90% of that right now. So I get to write a new one for myself. I get to write a new level for myself because I've accomplished 90% of what I wrote for myself in May of 2018. So now who do I want to be? Now do I want my dream life to be? And now what kind of boundaries do I need to set? Now what type of goal setting am I going to be? But also new level fears come up. So now I'm going to release the shit out of those and move forward anyways. Okay? And that is the whole point of me putting together Confident and Kickass, which is my online course dealing with self-doubt and imposter syndrome, is creating this high vibe community and a very close-knit container where we can sit down, and that is what we are doing for 5 days back to back. Is I'm going on live so that people can ask questions and give me their scenarios in person, but it's going to be in a closed container so that no one feels afraid of speaking these things. Because right now, this is an open container. This live stream, this video is an open container, and not everyone is going to feel good posting their inner dark secrets on this open container. So we're doing this in a closed container, speaking on these different topics so that you guys get to also be in my energy of like, I'm going to do this shit anyways. My energy of, yeah, that fear is there, but I'm going to do it anyways. The same girl that was a teacher and left teaching to live an entrepreneur life, yeah, that shit is scary sometimes, but I'm going to do it anyways. Yeah, it's scary to talk about things sometimes, but I'm going to talk about them anyways. I talk about uncomfortable topics all the time. Is it scary for me? Yes. Do I get afraid sometimes to push start on that live video and talk about topics that I know are going to trigger and piss people off? You bet your ass I do. And I know that you guys are dealing with it on the same scale. So that is the point of it, is having a closed container where we are talking about these back to back to back. We are unlayering this yourself. Because the thing is the truly confident, kick-ass version of yourself, that's inside of you. It already exists. You don't have to go find it. We just have to uncover it. And that's what all of this is uncovering and unshedding and deconditioning all of it. And that's what the point of it is at the end, it's a fast-paced 2-week course. At the end of the 2 weeks that you look yourself in the mirror and you're like, oh, hell yeah, this bitch is already valuable and worthy. There's nothing that I could do that would lose my value and worth. And there's nothing that I need to do to gain my value and worth, that I am inherently value and worthy. That you feel it in every fiber of your being, that you make decisions and you know yes or no. You know what is going to be good for you and what is not, the things you need to do. Like, it's not a second guessing yourself thing. That the imposter syndrome stuff that comes up, it doesn't come up anymore because you know that what you do is incredible, amazing. When it comes to marching band visual fundamentals, I'm very good at it. Did I used to feel like an imposter saying that? Yeah, I don't feel like an imposter anymore, and I charge my value and worth on it when it comes to it. And people tell me, they're like, oh my God, like that's something I've never thought of before. Yeah, I know, I'm very good at this shit. The imposter syndrome goes away because you know your value and your worth. And that is what we are doing. We are getting rid of all the bullshit beliefs. I'm giving you the process for the self-doubt that gets rid of the imposter syndrome and that allows you to show up in your true, powerful worth. That is doing the music that you want to do, that is applying for the job that you want to apply for, that is going for the promotion that you want to, and that is also speaking your truth even when it feels scary, that is speaking up for the people that need you to speak up for them even when it feels scary, because there's way too many kind-hearted, compassionate teachers not speaking up for students nowadays because they're afraid. There's women out there that are afraid to shine their powerful, bright light because what if they make people uncomfortable? Because that's another thing too, is fear of success, fear of being so big that you make people uncomfortable. That's bullshit, and that's what we're going to be working on in there. My goal at the end of this course is that people show up powerfully, they speak their truth, they know what they're good at and they own it. They make decisions clear-headed. They don't second-guess themselves. They speak their truth. They feel comfortable being around other people, and that they don't compare themselves anymore. Because comparison is another bullshit thing that we do, that imposter syndrome causes us to do. The comparison, that shit stops. And if it does come up, you're going to have a process to get rid of it every single time. So that what I do now, I used to compare myself all the time and judge myself and other people. The self-deprecating stuff, that's also a version of self-doubt. I don't do that stuff anymore. This sweater, yes, queen, that is what I do. I cheer people on now. I encourage people. I boost them up. That is my mission. My mission, like the initial reaction of my brain to compare myself to someone else, that's gone now. And I want that for you too, that you don't compare yourself to other people anymore, because you know that where you are on your journey, you own where you are on your journey, that you are not second guessing it and devaluing where you are on your journey, that you don't compare yourself anymore. You cheer other people on, you cheer yourself on, that your inner voice by the end of 2 weeks is going to be completely different. We're going to flip your inner voice upside down, and it's going to speak to you drastically differently at the end of 2 weeks, so that you are showing up powerfully, you are making decisions, you're not second guessing yourself. There's no more bullshit. You look in the mirror and you can feel your value and worth in your being. And imposter syndrome, gone. Okay? So that is the goal of Confident and Kickass. It's a 2-week course. We are doing 5 live stream videos. Yes, you can if you can't be there on the live stream, no big deal, because there's an entire week after that for accountability and support and for catch up. This is a closed container, high vibe, in my energy, because that's the other thing too, is we calibrate to people. I want people in my energy, in a closed container, speaking their heart, speaking their truth, feeling safe, but also calibrating to my badass, kick-ass energy. Because if you've ever been around me, this is me. This is how I teach. This is what I do. Okay? So, Confident and Kick-Ass, we start on the 23rd. It's going to be amazing. It's incredible, and I'm so freaking excited about it. We are going way in depth with this. There's going to be journal prompts, all the things. We're going to be cracking our souls wide open and finding the true version of yourself. So, cheers to the new you. And if this is something that you are super excited about and you want to do, then message me. It is only $97, which is crazy, killer, amazing. I'm happy to create a customized payment plan for you if that is something that you feel like you need. I'm happy to do that. So before fear sneaks up and tells you that you are not worth investing in, send me a message. Let's get you registered and signed up for it, because that's another thing, is fear will tell us we are not worth investing in ourselves. And yes, the hell you are, because you're incredible and you're amazing. Okay? So feel free to drop questions and everything. I will come back and answer them later. Those are the things that if you focus on those 4 things right there, that shit will change your life, because it changed my life. If you want it more in depth and you're like, I want more help from you on this, then message me and join Confident and Kick-Ass, my online course, because that's what we're doing, is I am providing in a closed container, close-knit help for people on breaking souls wide open and finding our true inner selves. And I'm so freaking excited to do this, and I can't wait to start. We start on the 23rd. Join us. You are worth investing in. You're amazing. You're incredible. And I love you so freaking much. Bye, friends.